Okay, let's talk some country music. I know we got lots of country music fans out there in the Real Agriculture and Real Ag Radio audience. We're talking right now to the multi-platinum, three times Juno winner. It is Brett Kissel. Brett, it's great to chat with you.
Well, it's great to chat with you too, and I'm honored that you invited me to be a part of the program. Thank you. Thanks, Shaun.
Yeah. Well, you got a lot of stuff going on, and I guess I wanted to talk to you about this big project that you've taken on. You've got kind of a thematic 4 album compilation coming together here. New album came out here early November. Tell us about this project and why you're so passionate about it.
Well, the project is called the Compass Project, and it's essentially a 4-part album. But even though it was only going to be a couple songs and it was going to make one album, I got carried away and I ended up making 4 albums. So these 4 albums create the box set that is the Compass Project. We have North, East, South, and West, of course. The South album is where the needle of the compass points south to Nashville, a city that you and I both love, and it's your straight ahead new country record that I think people would expect, for radio hits and all that, all those vibes. The East album is a singer-songwriter album that I'm extremely proud of. A lot of these songs that I never thought Shaun would have ever seen the light of day, but they have now because we've created an entire record that really gives me the opportunity to flex that songwriter muscle. Then the West album that just came out on Friday, I'm so proud of it because it's an authentic Western and very traditional record in terms of the themes, the songs that we've written, the songs that I recorded, and the way that we recorded it, to have it be a very Western record. And then the North that'll come out later this year, right before Christmas, is a greatest hits album. So, but it's all live though. So all of my
Cool.
singles that you would have known, or anybody in your audience at Real Ag Radio, would know that songs like 321 or Drink About Me, Make a Life Not a Living, it's all live from different cities across Canada because we've recorded all of our shows. So that's how we made our greatest hits record. And that's what the Compass Project is all about. It's a wonderful creative project that I'm very proud is now out in the world.
That's cool. And you talk about some of the traditional country music. It seems that after a period of time where we kind of went kind of top 40, kind of poppy, it feels like we're kind of pulling back a little bit to more some country roots. If you look at some of the singers that are having a lot of success right now, and I watch the CMAs and things like that. Do you feel that right now?
Very much so. I mean, the pendulum always swings, right? If you analyze each decade of country music, at the beginning of the 1980s and the late 70s into the 80s, there was all these orchestral arrangements, and Lionel Richie was doing songs, and Ray Charles was joining Willie Nelson, and Kenny Rogers had these beautiful symphonies behind him. That was a very pop thing. And then you get a guy like George Strait and Randy Travis that brought it all the way back in so that it would sound authentically country again. Then you look at the 90s, and as things were very, very country in the early 90s with Brooks and Dunn and Garth Brooks, then things started to go a little bit more pop leaning when Faith Hill was doing songs like I Love the Way You Love Me and I Could Feel You Breathe in the late 90s into the 2000s. So you had Bro Country, which was huge in the 2010s. And that was very rock heavy, and Jason Aldean had distortion on his guitars, and it was a great big rock show. And then Dan and Shay and Justin Bieber doing these pop duets. It was an amazing time for country, but the pendulum has to swing where, guys like Chris Stapleton and Zach Bryan and Lainey Wilson are doing more authentic and genuine country again. So the country music genre is the most amazing genre because it's this gigantic umbrella where we all fit underneath it. We really do. It's the most diverse genre, I'm convinced of it, in the world. However, I'm also very proud that in a lot of ways, it's definitely it's not on this, highway with a Lamborghini going towards LA. It's actually on a gravel road and a pickup truck heading back towards, down home Tennessee.
So you farm, your family's been around agriculture. You've been around it your whole life. Ranching, things like that. What inspires you? You're a singer-songwriter, which I really, really commend. You're not something that's sort of been created by a record company. You're living and breathing and creating your own music. What inspires you?
Well, there's many different areas, especially as a songwriter, that I can draw on inspiration. And one of the most important words that I would say is authenticity, because I was a songwriter in Nashville for many years. I had my record deal, but I also had a publishing deal. And so for your radio audience who may not know what a publishing deal really is that I'm paid to wake up in the morning and write songs for other people. It's a wonderful business model, and it's a wonderful ecosystem in Nashville. But I felt that it wasn't authentic to me because I would write with a new person. So let's pretend it's you and me, Shaun. We would get together in a room. I would have an idea, or you'd have an idea. We'd create a song by 4 p.m. It's done. We go, we record it, and we hope that we can pitch it to Tim McGraw or Carrie Underwood or Blake Shelton. But it wasn't authentic. I was writing songs for Blake Shelton thinking that this is something he would say, or this is something George Strait would say, as opposed to what would I say? So as an artist and as a true songwriter, I wanted to write songs about things that really mattered to me. And you get very lucky if the things that matter to you, because that's where the authenticity comes from, if something matters to you is general enough or relatable enough that your entire audience or your fan base can relate to it too. So that's a wonderful thing that is important to try to achieve. But when it comes to the Compass Project and the inspiration behind it, I was really just trying to write about themes and songs and stories that were authentic to me, regardless of what anybody else would think or whether they would enjoy it or not. The interesting thing, though, is that, I get a lot of messages daily from fans or friends or family saying, I know this is very unique to you, and this is your personal story, but it's very relatable to me too. So that's a big, big part of my inspiration, is trying to find authenticity in what I write about.
Now, there'll be tracks that'll get released and will become very, very popular. Now, sometimes the artist's favorite track is not one of the ones that gets released, but if you look at the whole track of the West album that was released last Friday, what's your favorite track and why?
Well, there's a few different songs that are important to me, and when I say important, I guess therefore it would be my favorites. But the first one that comes to mind is this song called "Missing You" in San Antone, and I just love how we did a Western swing song in 2023. That doesn't make any sense in terms of today's country music. Who would do an authentic Western swing song that you would have heard in the 1940s Texas barroom? So I'm really proud of that song and the instrumentation and being able to write a theme like that. But then there's another song I wrote called "Oil and Cattle," which talks about my love for Alberta and the prairies. So it's a 4-verse song that actually started off as a 3-verse song. First song was about me. I come from the land of oil and cattle, hard work, blood, sweat, and tears. And that's how I'd always describe Alberta, especially if I'm doing interviews with anybody in the States or in Europe or internationally. They say, tell me about your homeland. Tell me about Alberta. And I said, well, it's the land of oil and cattle. And so I wanted to write that song. Second verse talks about Saskatchewan and my love for the prairies. A lot of family have come from Saskatchewan. Our home in St. Paul is, only, an hour from the Saskatchewan border. So that's my ode to the prairies. The third verse talks about the foothills and how much I love, the mountains and the foothills. And George Canyon sang that verse. Brad Johnner sang the Saskatchewan verse. And that's where the song, Shaun, ended. That was it. It was a 3-verse song. That's it. It was done recording. But I've got a good friend who's an elder in the community up from Fort Chip in northern Alberta. His name is Dwayne Nemlander. And Dwayne teaches in the city of Edmonton, reconciliation and, is on many different boards for Indigenous affairs. So as I have really formed some beautiful friendships over the years with many different chiefs and different people who are part of tribal council, it was Dwayne who said, before it was the land of oil and cattle, it was ours first, eh? And I just felt that was a very unique mic drop moment. So I wrote the 4th verse that talks about an Indigenous perspective that my friend Don Amaro, who's a great artist from Winnipeg, with background, his family's Métis and Inuit. So he sang that verse. So oil and cattle, in that regard might be my favorite. But maybe later on in this show, I'll tell you a little bit about another song called Legacy that talks about farm succession planning. If you haven't heard that one is going to tug on your heartstrings. So it would be oil and cattle and Legacy and probably Missing You in San Antone.
Legacy, is there some personal background to that legacy story? And, I think a lot of farmers think about legacy, right? And what they're leaving for the next generation. So talk about that.
Sure. Well, I mean, big time legacy. Legacy was inspired by a real dark chapter in the life of our farm, our family farm that's been ours for, over 100 years now. My grandpa, Wenjanowski, Grandpa Bear, as I call him, he did such an amazing job building the ranch, taking it over from his parents, in the 60s, and building it to the ranch that it is today. As he started, partnering with my mom and my dad, and created the next generation of wealth and progress for the ranch, different ideals got in the way. And as my grandpa revealed when he was diagnosed with cancer what the succession plan was going to be, unfortunately, it destroyed the family. Now, between you and me and everybody listening, I thought that what my grandpa was going to do was a very fair deal. I thought he was right on the money with the distribution of land, and every rancher and farmer is asset rich and cash poor. Most of them are. You've got all this land, you've got a bit of debt, but you got no money in the bank. So how are you gonna make sure the family's taken care of? So I was very supportive for my grandpa, and my uncle and I wrote this song called Legacy, which is really a spoken word poem that talks about how he builds this up, and he's got this plan, and he's got this dream, and he's got this plan, and he's got this dream, and he's realizing this dream, and here he is, he's building a legacy, building a legacy, building a legacy, until it starts to deteriorate because of greed and other opinions, and it's trending in the wrong direction, and all your work should be for me, and now lawyers are taking the cash and the soil, and it's just, it was a 6-7 year period that almost killed my grandpa. The cancer didn't kill him, but wasn't going to kill him. The stress was. So that I wrote this song. It's very dark, but it's also very true. There's so that's what Legacy is all about. So if anybody wants to take a deep dive, I've never ever done a song like this ever in my life, and I probably never will again. But it's
Wow.
creative expression, I guess. So
Congrats for you for sharing that story. And I think people may not, a lot of our audience, whether they're in Oklahoma, Alberta, Ontario, or Ohio, they have stories just like that they can identify with that. So good for you for writing that song. Tour plans for the album, and we got a lot of audience here across Canada and the U.S. Can they expect Brett Kissel on the road here?
Absolutely. We are embarking on our Compass tour that will go right across Canada, and we've got some really unique dates that we'll be announcing in 2024 in America as well. So I'm really, really proud that, at this point in my career, Canadians will know that, I've been at it for, over 10 years, and it's been an amazing life and an amazing, chapter. But now that, my wife and I, we've got these 4 beautiful kids, it's really important to pick and choose the right spots and to tour in the most effective way. And so we figured out the way to do that. And we've got these great shows lined up that, are across Canada. In Southern Alberta, I know that we're probably going to hit up Medicine Hat or Lethbridge in the new year. I've got a really unique show coming up in 2 weeks in Calgary, and it's with the Philharmonic Orchestra. So we're going to take a bunch of my hits, as well as a bunch of these wonderful songs from the Compass Project, West and East, and we're going to do them with the symphony. So I just can't wait for this show.
That's pretty neat. Awesome stuff. Well, hey, Brett, congratulations on the album. Really looking forward to, I'm going to pick it up this afternoon and listen to it and purchase it online, and looking forward to diving into some of that heartfelt music that your sweat is, and some tears are all over those lyrics. So congratulations on the album, and encourage the entire Real Agriculture and Real Ag Radio audience to check out the Brett Kissel's new album. It is the Compass Project, and this is the West album. So please check it out. Brett, thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
No, thank you. And there's one other quick song called the Crib Song that right after Legacy, you'll hear the Crib Song that I wrote about my favorite card game. So the pendulum's going to swing from darkness to something a little bit more up-tempo and lighthearted. So enjoy that record, Shaun, and thanks for your time on the station today.
Looking forward to it. 15-2, 15-4, 15-6. Oh, look, it's a double skunk. Hey, Brett, thanks a lot.
Exactly. Yeah. Take care, buddy.